very much. So welcome everybody to the Community Outcomes meeting. I'm going to ask everybody to introduce themselves. My name is Alison, I'm the Deputy Mayor for Policing and Crime in West Yorkshire.
Hi, Rob Forrest, Head of Policing and Crime with the Combined Authority.
Afternoon, Robert Coobury, ACC for Operational Support in West Yorkshire Police.
John Robbins, Chief Constable of West Yorkshire.
ACC, Damien Miller for Local Policing and Safeguarding.
Good afternoon, ACC, Pat Twiggs, Head of Specialist Crime and Criminal Justice.
Thank you very much. We've received apologies from Tracy Graben, the Mayor. So the items being discussed today are in line with the Policing Crime Plan and support the Safer Places and Thriving Communities theme, because we changed the way that we did this when we introduced the new Policing Crime Plan in February. So item 2 is notes of the previous meeting held on the 28th of January. Everybody happy that they were?
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Any matters arising?
No, not from us.
No. And then item 3 is the Mayor's and Chief Constable's announcements. So anything from the Chief Constable?
No, thank you.
So Mayor's announcements are that we had a Violence Against Women and Girls round table with West Yorkshire Members of Parliament and the third sector that work with women and girls across West Yorkshire. We set out a plan for us all to work better together to help to deliver the government's objective of reducing violence over the next 10 years. And the sector was able to describe the work that they're doing across the county to support women and girls and men and boys in some cases who are victims of serious sexual offences. It's the first of many meetings that we're hoping to have over the Mayor's 4-year term. The second item is that the Grant Round A Mayor Safe Communities Fund has been completed, and the Mayor and I were able to hand out £1 million of police proceeds of crime act monies that the Economic Crime Unit had been able to take from criminals so that we could give it back to the communities of West Yorkshire. And we had a brilliant event again in February where that money was distributed. The next round is going to be the 2nd of June, which will close on the 4th of July, and we do encourage all groups across West Yorkshire to apply for that money. We'll put out lots of comms at the time when that grant round goes live. And then finally, we are running a campaign along with some young people who work as part of the Youth Commission called the I Took a Seat campaign, which is ongoing, and hopefully members of the public will have seen some of the banners and some of the stories that young people have shared about some of the issues facing them in West Yorkshire. And it's part of the Mayor's Policing Crime Plan and adopting that child first lens, that we're listening more to young people, and so hopefully people have seen that campaign and can subscribe to it and support those young people. Also, if anyone's got any ideas about how we can engage with more young people, then please do share that with our office, and we'll be really happy to work with whoever wants to work with us to do that, particularly as we're now developing our serious violence strategy. We've got social media and channels and a website with all the work that we're doing, so please do keep an eye on that if you want to get involved or understand more what we're doing. So I'm going to move then to the agenda items. All the papers that we're going to be discussing today have been published on our website, and hopefully anyone who is watching this meeting today has had access to those papers, but they will remain on our website if you want to look back at them. So first of all, we're going to go to roads policing, and I'm going to ask ACC Robin McCoubry to introduce that paper.
Yeah, thanks. So obviously it's a broad overview of Vision Zero and the roads policing position. There's nothing of particular note I need to clarify or give further detail in respect to the paper.
Brilliant, thank you. So obviously I chair the Vision Zero board, so really happy when road safety comes on to the COM agenda, so that actually we can share some of the good things that all the partnership is doing, including policing of course. We are making a difference, you know, despite too many people still being killed or seriously injured on our roads. So in the paper, thank you for that, on page 3, the paper notes that each district policing area has a named senior leadership lead officer for Vision Zero, as well as a lead inspector. How do local officers know who the lead officers are, and how do the lead officers hold the local officers to account?
Yeah, so I think it's fair to say that as a force over the last certainly 24 months or so, but certainly over the last 12 months, we've seen sort of a real increase in traction around Vision Zero, a real buy-in. Obviously the board's been really helpful in a sense at that sort of overarching level, but locally as well. You know, we've done an awful lot of work to raise awareness around Vision Zero with local teams. Part of that is obviously having dedicated and identified local SLT level spots, so an officer of at least Chief Inspector rank in each of the districts has got ownership for Vision Zero, both in terms of driving that local partnership activity, but also in terms of making sure that we, where the opportunity arises, are using our neighbourhood and patrol resources effectively to work in line with the Vision Zero objectives. So as I say, each district does have that spot that's advertised both on the Force website and also on local intranet sites. There's been various pieces of work done in each of the districts to make sure that officers across the district through briefings and communications know exactly not only what Vision Zero is about, but also who the sort of lead and key individuals are. We're confident that the knowledge around Vision Zero in a global sense is increased and much improved. Again, we use our existing processes, so I'm helpfully assisted by ACC Damien Miller in local policing in terms of the local accountability meetings where Vision Zero is featured over the last few years on those agendas. There's an expectation that on local team accountability meetings where supervisors sit down with the sergeants and team members so that everyone understands how they're delivering and contributing to Vision Zero. You know, we still have a process in local districts and departments of spin meetings, for example, solving problem in neighbourhoods. Again, it's a forum where those sorts of, if there's any particular local issues, those things would be addressed and those discussions are had to make sure that local teams are delivering against the ambitions of Vision Zero. So there's sort of it's a multi-layered approach to it. Obviously then I've got resources in local police, in roads policing as well, who are clearly out when they have the opportunity to be proactive. And we've got a separate structure within ops support as well to make sure that everyone's clear on Vision Zero and what we're trying to do. So we've got, I think we've made some really good progress over the last year.
Thanks for that, and hopefully we'll continue to see some good outcomes as a result. So on page 11, the paper explains that total traffic offence ticket enforcement activity in the 12 months to November 24 increased by 8.1% to 26,142 offences, unfortunately. Are there any increases of certain offence types which could impact the work of Vision Zero?
I think so. We're obviously again alongside the drive. We're pushing officers and we're getting to a position where we do have a bit more time, accepting everyone's busy, but we are seeing an increase in the proactivity around enforcement of roads policing offences. To give an example, in terms of the levels of ticket increases over the last 12 months, we've seen almost a 6% increase in the number of tickets issued for Fatal 5 offences. Drilling down into that a little bit further, predominantly the biggest increases are around issuing of driving without a seatbelt, just under 15%, and then also careless driving, which has seen a just under 15% increase as well. So, you know, I think we are now starting to see that increased level of proactivity, which hopefully will continue to translate into less harm in the roads.
Yeah, and it's quite shocking that actually, because you know. We thought we'd beat that one, the seatbelt one. We thought most people got that one, and clearly people are sliding back into their own ways. Yeah, and it's one of the ones that most vehicles have got audible alarms and various annoying things that make it less. But we are seeing that in the figures. So and we're pushing it accordingly. Well, thank you for that. On page 17, your paper talks about the implementation of the first average speed enforcement scheme on the A6120 Leeds Outer Ring Road, and then the A647 Bradford Road, and then the one that I'm most pleased about, the A647 Stanley Bypass, as a ex-Army councillor for 29 years who fought for that. And that they're supporting efforts to deliver greater speed limits, which is obviously brilliant. Since April 2024, 1,506 drivers who have been offending have been detected exceeding the speed limit. And we know that average speed lengths support behavioural change rather than offence capture. What were figures in the areas highlighted before the implementation of the average speed schemes?
Yeah, it's I think both of those average speed schemes, as you say, are having a really positive impact. It's hard to draw comparisons prior and before, particularly in respect of the Stanley Bypass one that you mentioned. There was obviously an awful lot of speeding offences captured on that bit by really challenging section of road for us. So, as an example, prior to that, there were I think it was 4,017 detections on that section of road under the old sort of static camera system. That's dropped now in terms of speeding offences to 833, which I think is a good demonstration of the sort of tangible impact of much fewer people speeding on that part of the road.
Yeah, and it reinforces that this is not about getting money out of people.
Yeah.
This is about saving lives.
Yeah.
There's a tangible change in people's driving behaviour on those roads, so the people using those roads are going to be safer.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, it's really positive, and obviously there's ambitions to take the learning from there and expand opportunities across other areas of the road network.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Thank you. On page 22, the paper notes that work is well underway on the previous camera replacement scheme. How are camera replacement works progressing? And with the end of 3G services, is there an impact to other technologies used by the force?
We don't. We've known about the sort of transition for a while and the switch off of 3G. We don't anticipate any significant operational issues in respect of the transition away from 3G. As you rightly point out, the rollout is ongoing. That tranche, the first tranche, started in April this year, and that initial tranche will be fully completed by the end of June. That will align with the switch off from O2 and the remaining 3G services. So our technical AMPR manager, who's sort of leading on a piece of the work, is really clear and confident in terms of the planned rollout and equally the implications. So there's sort of no concerns at the moment either from the digital policing or the AMPR team, and those sort of planned transitions going ahead as planned.
And I think it'd be good if we sort of got that out to the public, because might some people thinking they can have a bit of a free for all. So if there's anything we can do with our Vision Zero team and all the comms that we've got, just so people know.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe I'll bring an item to the future Vision Zero board around that for some discussion and awareness. Then and go from there.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you
okay.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll move then to serious and organised crime. Welcome, Pat.
Hello, thank you.
The report mentions some impressive results in the reduction of crime in serious organised crime hotspots response areas. Do you feel that there's been a similar improvement in community confidence in policing in these locations, and what lessons have been learned in tackling serious violent crime in neighbourhoods from this programme?
Yes, well, I think it is difficult to comment specifically whether community confidence has improved in those hotspot locations, because we didn't directly measure it as part of the activity. However, what we can say is that the community engagement has greatly increased as a result of it. So, for example, a lot of the targeted work we've done under Project Spotlight, which has seen the use of targeted social media in those hotspot areas, whereby we can message people who are either walking through there or living there directly with particular messages, has shown that is absolutely getting through to the right people. We've had over 3 million impressions and 10,000 click-throughs to our dedicated website as a result of that targeted media. So we managed to engage with a huge audience. And then as part of that targeted work, the patrol activity is looking at the development of sort of long-term problem solving in those hotspot areas. and that's going to further support that, building that community confidence in policing in those areas. So it's a really useful addition, specifically targeted to those hotspot areas. That's definitely allowing us to get through to far more people. It's just difficult for me to say exactly specifically around the levels of community confidence, but the obvious thing would be it's improving it because of that wider engagement.
Well, we hope that's the reality of it.
Yeah.
Following successful operations against perpetrators of non-recent child sexual exploitation and abuse, I'm very pleased to see that the Home Office, at our request, have increased funding, special grant to West Yorkshire Police. Can you tell us more about the number of cases and perpetrators who are set to face trial during the next 12 months?
I can, yes. We've currently got 60 defendants who are charged, and they're either standing trial or due to stand trial in 2025 and into 2026 for non-recent CSEA offences. And those 60 defendants relate to 12 different investigations that span Bradford, Calderdale, Kirklees and Wakefield districts. As there's those cases alive and sub judice in the court system, obviously we can't give any further information, but that's to prevent it having a negative impact on those proceedings, but still a huge number of defendants going through or waiting to go through the court system into the next couple of years.
That's really impressive, and obviously what the public won't know is that about 210 people have been sent to prison for over 2,200
That's right.
years.
Yep, that's right.
As a direct result of the unit and all the work that's been happening since 2015. And just for information, you won't know this because I haven't told you, that I've actually emailed the Home Office and suggested that we use that as a model to map victims who are current victims or potential victims, and could they fund a pilot that would possibly help us to identify victims today or potential victims today, and therefore prevent that from happening rather than focusing on historical stuff. Let's look at what's happening now and help victims. So I've not had a response yet, but when I do, I'll tell you. That's a really good idea.
And I think it's fair to say that we have looked at this for a long time, and those sentences that we've got are probably greater than anywhere else in the country, and it just shows our focus and commitment to victims, regardless of when any offences took place.
I think if we had that resource for victims today,
absolutely.
That would be transformational.
It would, absolutely,
So fingers crossed.
It would be worth linking in with Louise's case.
Yes, it would.
Doing an ongoing review to suggest, because she's been up to visit the force.
I know she came last week, and so that was really welcome. And hopefully she was impressed with the work that West Yorkshire Police have been doing.
Yeah, and we did mention that specific point around any available funding that we could use to support victims now would be gratefully received, so that'd be helpful.
And another piece of information is that Tracy and I are working with the 3 rape crises that are responsible for the whole of West Yorkshire, and they've got a survivor leadership group who are victims, both current and historical victims of a range of sexual violence, and we're working with those women and girls just to understand what they want going forward, how Tracy and I can use our convening powers better. And in fact, the meeting that we had late last month with the MPs with the bar sector was actually in response to the 3 rape crises and the women that they're working with. And we're working with another charity to identify a group of male victims that we can also form a panel from to have those same conversations. Because I think it's really important that we're listening to victims always.
Absolutely.
And responding to their needs.
Thank you.
So, looking at knife crime, you mentioned in the report test purchases of knives to identify illegitimate retailers. Nationally, how much success is there in regulating the online sale of knives?
Well, as you're aware, there's been significant changes in legislation regarding the sale and ownership of knives just in the past 12 months, and there's further legislation coming into effect in the autumn of this year. The online retail space is very challenging due to many online marketplaces being outside the UK, which is very difficult for us to regulate. But what we do and continue to do in West Yorkshire is have Operation Uchi, which is a joint operation with UK Border Agency regarding the interception of parcels containing knives entering the UK. So we try our best with UK Border Agency to intercept as many of those packages that are destined for delivery to addresses in West Yorkshire, and obviously deal with any offences that then present. And currently that's removing around 150 weapons a year going into the wrong hands. There has been a recent national end-to-end review regarding the online sale of knives, led by the MPCC lead on knife crime, which is a Commander Clayman from the Met, and our Gemlock Chief Inspector James Kitchen is part of that national group. So James has assisted with that end-to-end review. So that's currently going through the sort of review stage of the Home Office, and a number of recommendations have been made to the Home Office to potentially implement some further changes to the legislation to help regulate that online sale. So it's just in that stage now where the Home Office are looking at that, but hopefully we'll see some further recommendations and tweaks to that legislation.
That's really interesting and helpful to know, thank
Yeah.
you. So again, in the report you describe several crime prevention programmes targeting online fraud and economic crime, and I just wanted to acknowledge that you're going to send us some further information on that, which is helpful, and so we'll wait to get that.
Okay.
And then my final question for you is, can you provide more information on the increase in high-end vehicle and HGV thefts?
Yeah, absolutely. So the overall trend in vehicle crime across all makes and models is actually down over the last 12 months. And that's mainly down to significant reductions in thefts of what we call common vehicles, so makes like Fiestas, Transits, etc. There are a few bespoke areas where the trend is slightly up, mainly with sort of prestige makes and models, higher end vehicles like BMWs, Mercedes, Land Rovers, and particularly high-end VW Golfs. And quite a significant number of these are stolen what we call car key 2-in-1 burglaries, where people are specifically targeting people's homes to steal high-value cars. The recovery rate for these makes and models does tend to stay below the mean recovery rate for all vehicles across West Yorkshire, so we get a few of them back. We believe that this is linked to organised crime and linked to a variety of chop shops operating in every district across the county. For example, in October last year, we recovered 75 Audi and BMW engines from stolen vehicles that were found in a number of containers in Leeds. We believe due to be shipped abroad, valuing up to about £3 million. So it just shows you the extent of how organised this market is, and that included a range of stolen vehicle parts. So we firmly believe that all these vehicles and their parts are being broken down and making their way into the supply chain, and there will be probably a high number of legitimate vehicles on our streets but containing illegitimate parts, some of which people won't realise are stolen parts. In terms of those burglaries, it is a concerning trend in terms of that type of burglary, and I suppose logically a question somebody may ask to me is, right, well, what are you going to do about that? What are you doing about the 2-in-1 burglaries? And we do have our dedicated burglary teams that focus on that type of offence, because we know the real impact it has on victims. With regards to the prevention of that type of offence, with those high-end vehicles, they naturally tend to come with increased security, and many of the owners have their own security at home, CCTV. And a question I often get asked is, should people try and hide the keys? And it's a difficult one, because if people are targeting your home for an expensive car with the keys, they're likely to potentially target you for the keys. So whilst I'm not saying make it easy for a thief, what we would say to people is vehicles are replaceable, people are not. So it's that balance, isn't it, between do all you can to protect your car, but ultimately if someone wants the keys, it's easy to give the keys and not get hurt. So it is a tricky balance, but in terms of actual out and out right prevention, there are various things that we're doing. A lot of trackers, aftermarket trackers, are put on these vehicles that do then help us to locate them. But even those, as sophisticated as they are, thieves are getting used to removing those from vehicles. So it is a difficult thing, and we are working with manufacturers to try and make it more difficult to steal cars in the first place. But as you can understand, that's a national issue, and it's a difficult one for us to address.
And I understand that you're doing some information for homeowners on how they can prevent this themselves, and you're going to send us that when you go to that.
Absolutely. And as I say, it is a difficult one, because what we don't want to do, the absolute bottom line is we don't want any homeowner to put themselves in more danger of being physically harmed by any intruders.
Thank you. So I think that's it, isn't it?
I believe so, yeah.
So we'll move on then to neighbourhood policing and transport.
Yeah, so the report is self-explanatory. So what we've tried to do within the report is obviously cover off antisocial behaviour, the neighbourhood policing team satisfactions and sickness, and some of the work that's currently ongoing around our core policing offer.
Thank you very much. It's great to see sickness rates coming down. Please can you confirm the level of current abstractions from NPTs and how you manage this?
Yeah, unfortunately, the way the system works, I can't provide you that information at this moment in time. Strategic Workforce Planning are currently looking on a fix on this, because the problem we have is obviously if an officer or a member of staff goes off sick and returns, until the return to work interview is done and the system's been updated, it's not accurate information. So I'm hoping in the not too distant future that'll be more live time, we'll be able to provide you that information.
Can I ask about the crime associated with antisocial behaviour and how this is tracked? What crimes are used as part of ASB hotspots flagging, and how is this currently shared with local authority partners?
Okay, so in relation to crime and antisocial behaviour, the antisocial behaviour hotspots don't use crime to flag any of that. We just purely use antisocial behaviour data. That's the purest form that we can use. What we then have is our internal systems, which are obviously Power BI dashboards. Unfortunately, we can't provide access to those dashboards to partners, so we still have the original report that is published and obviously provided to yourselves and can be shared with partners as well as our Corvus information. And what we want to do is move forward in the future to basically automate that process. So once it's updated, then obviously that report will go out in a PDF format. So we've got each district holds their local meetings with partners as well, where we're able to share that information as well. And obviously the compliance of our ASB hotspots, that's done through the GPS system on the radio, so we can provide that information back to the Home Office to show the amount of time that we've spent in those hotspot areas. Where we do use crime recording is in relation to the GEMLOC offences or the hotspots that they cover, and what we have within there is public order, harassment and criminal damage. So they're the crime types that goes into that one. And what we then do is look at geofencing areas, set boundaries, and obviously then provide the reassurance patrols into those areas to show that we've got that visibility. And we report back on that 6-weekly process as well. And then we have the local SPIN meetings as well, where we'll share that information with partners.
Thank you very much. Can you share the details of the College of Policing NPT training? How many officers have completed it, and is it having positive impacts? Yeah,
so we completed the training on the 27th of March this year. So MPP2, that was delivered in 10 courses with 119 delegates in total, and NPPF3 was delivered over 2 courses with 11 sergeants and inspectors completing the course. We haven't got the evaluation yet because that is being led by the College of Policing, but once we've got that back, more than happy to share that with you.
Good. Well, I'm quite looking forward to see what that shows. So we noted that the report didn't include updates on ASB by district, but thank you for sending us that subsequently. We're going to put that on there.
Brilliant.
So neighbourhood crime then. Anything you want to say? Yeah,
so again, lots of information in the report. Obviously, it's a focus under the Home Office beating crime plan, which was obviously launched in 2021, looking at key offences that are considered under that. But I won't go into the report because there's lots of information which is obviously available to the public online.
Thank you. So please can you talk more about your comments in the report regarding the increased trend in theft from motor vehicle? what its impact is across West Yorkshire and how you're tackling it, and what you're doing to improve victim satisfaction.
Okay, so obviously theft from motor vehicle, if there's violence used at the scene of the offence, we'll record that as a robbery, so it won't be included within those figures. So these are clear theft from motor vehicle offences. When you look at how can we attribute those offences, there isn't one cause to say that's why there's been the increase. There is obviously the continued impact that we've got in relation to the cost of living, and that is affecting offence rates and will be one of the issues. And one of the other issues is in relation to custodial sentences. What we're finding is a lot of offenders aren't getting custodial sentences, so it's allowing them to be straight back out on the streets committing further offences. So what we're trying to do with victim satisfaction, it currently stands at 68.2%, and overall that shows a 1% increase, so we're starting to head in the right direction. One of the issues that we have for theft from motor vehicle, a lot of the offences we deal with over through our rapid telephone resolvement, so it's not actually a physical officer attending the scene, so that's where we tend to lose a little bit of the satisfaction. So what we've done there is improve our questions that we go through to provide that reassurance to the victims, as well as providing updates to those victims where we do get success, so we can provide that positive messaging back as well to show that what action we've done positively.
Thank you. I mean, obviously, if there's anything that we can do to support the victim satisfaction stuff, any information that we can share, any videos we can do to explain to people, you know, what it is that you're doing and how you're supporting that particular crime type, then obviously we will.
Perfect.
Can you also tell us a little bit more about perpetrators of these types of offences? And so I know you said that violence had become robbery, but have you got any idea about the numbers?
Number-wise, certainly within the report we talk about Wakefield, which talks about robberies and an increase there. That's an increase of just 10 offences compared to the previous year, so it's not seen as statistically significant. However, it's significant for those 10 extra victims, obviously. So what we've got is the Wakefield crime team. They concentrate on those robberies, as do other crime teams within each of the other districts. And what we look at is looking for any evidence of where we can actually make early arrests of perpetrators, bring them through the system, and then obviously put them under stringent bail conditions so we can keep control of those. What we're showing at the moment, certainly within Wakefield with the latest figures, is so far we're showing 62 recorded offences for total robbery, not just in relation to vehicle side of things, in the first 3 months, and that compares with 88 from the year before, so we are showing a downturn in those robbery offences.
Yeah, and I have been out with the Wakefield DMPC, and of course we went out and we're doing stopping searches and all sorts of stuff, so I've seen that they've been very proactive in Wakefield City Centre. I'd like to know more about the increase in personal robberies in Wakefield District, and what you're doing to tackle that increase.
Yeah, so obviously the impact with regards to robbery, there was the national push by the government as well, which obviously West Yorkshire Police was one of those areas. What we've done is we've looked at our attendance and ensuring that we're dealing with all robberies that are priority attendance, even if the suspect has left the scene. So that makes sure that we get the officers there as quickly as possible. The reason that we want to do that is obviously to secure and preserve that evidence. Those evidence-based investigations then are leading to early arrests, and as I say, getting hold of those suspects at the earliest opportunity to either put them before the courts, i.e. remand, or put them under stringent bail conditions. So that's why it's having that impact in relation to robbery, and what we're showing, not only in Wakefield but across the force, we're now starting to see those offending rates reduce.
Again, I'm delighted to see that there's a 38% decrease in domestic burglary across the county. Do you know why we've got this downward trend? We're obviously policing, but any other understanding of what's happening?
So there's a number of factors. Obviously there was the push by the Home Office to attend all burglary dwelling, because when they reviewed it, it was of the opinion that obviously certain forces weren't attended. I'm pleased to say for West Yorkshire that hasn't created much of a change for us with regards to our attendance rates, because we were attending, but obviously we have to give the reports back now to the Home Office. We're at 99%. You're never going to be at 100%, but I think that hopefully that should give members of the public the reassurance that if they report an offence, there'll be attendance. We've got a fantastic regional scientific support hub, obviously, that we lead on. They will attend or triage every burglary residential offence, and if there's any prospect of evidence being found at that scene, they will attend, and obviously that gives us those forensic opportunities. We've got real good investment in crime prevention, officers and staff. So that is as part of a strategy that we change over the year, because there's different peaks within the year. Obviously darker nights, we start pushing that information out at the earliest opportunity, and using community alert and also our neighbourhood watch schemes to get those messages out, which is really positive. We still have our dedicated staff dealing with burglaries. So they're within our specialist district crime teams, and they will review every burglary that's come in over the last 24 hours, look at what opportunities they are, and make early arrests. So again, so we can get those suspects, if we can remand them, remanded, if not under those stringent bail conditions as we are doing with those robbery offenders. And then what we've got is the focus within the daily morning meetings as well with regards to the last 24 hours crime and what options have we got there, as well as early arrest, proactive arrest of those outstanding suspects.
Thanks very much. And I just wondered if the early release scheme of SDS 40, obviously it's not having a massive impact now because it's down to 8%, but did it have an impact?
We've not seen a correlation between the early release and certainly within burglary. Some other crimes we can say it had an impact, but burglary not at the moment.
No, that's interesting, thank you. So you and I have been to a motorcycle action group and talked to motorcyclists about particularly motorcycle theft, which is a big issue. And when we did the police and crime plan consultation, the motorcycle action groups exist across West Yorkshire are very active and made sure that they're fed back. So I just wondered what we're doing about motorcycle thefts, and obviously you came to that meeting with me, which was really appreciated. But it's an ongoing issue, isn't it, for people who've got very expensive bikes? Yeah,
no. So one of the key things we've done is in relation to the force-wide campaign, which has obviously been thankfully supported by the Mayor. And what that's done is we've trained the PCSOs to look at motorcycles that are left insecure, because this is one of the issues that we've got in relation to motorcycles being stolen. So one of the key things, you will have seen it, the tags that we'll put over the handlebars in relation to providing that awareness to the owner of that vehicle. Simple QR code, scan that on your phone, that will take you some additional crime prevention advice, which hopefully avoids that motorcycle owner losing their motorcycle. We've then got obviously the district off-road motorcycle teams as well. They're our proactive prevention element as well. So they're out stopping and seizing stolen motorbikes, arresting the people riding those as well, and then also looking at the associated issue with that, which is in relation to the antisocial behaviour use of those stolen vehicles as well. We've now got off-road bike capability across each of our 5 districts, and we've also got funding from the Safer Streets to provide a budget for all districts to enhance that funding as well. So there's lots going on within each of the districts, which can provide you that information separately just with regards to specific sort of action within each of those, but overall that's the main umbrella of what we're trying to do.
Yeah, and I've been to see quite a lot of the off-road bike teams, and it's good that you've got the off-road bike capability. But what they were saying to me is they wanted the on-off bike capability, because obviously, depending on where the person goes, the public don't understand about risk assessments and tyres and what tyres can and can't do, and culpability if things go wrong, and insurance and all that sort of thing. So, I mean, obviously, we know that money's tight, but an investment in the bikes that will help officers chase these offenders wherever they go, I think would be, it would lead to, I think, a real uplift in satisfaction amongst the public. I have written to Catherine about that. So.
Thank you.
Thinking about neighbourhood crime and town centre crime, I know this is a big push
Yeah.
from government at the moment. What do you think the biggest issues are and how are you tackling them with key partners?
Yeah, so obviously it is a big push from the government and there's quite a bit of work for us to do collectively in relation to this area. But prior to going into that, the key issues, shoplifting, which won't come as a surprise, begging, antisocial behaviour, public order offences, and then also the related issues with the nighttime economy as well. They're the key issues that we've got within each of our towns and cities. So the majority of that work already is done in partnership. We have our dedicated neighbourhood policing teams. We use the hotspot patrols that I mentioned earlier. And then also with regards to our top offenders, we have a number of Power BI apps now as well, which identify our serial offenders so we can prioritise those individuals and look at taking those out of those towns and cities as early as possible. Looking at using our prevention orders as well with regards to how we can stop them from entering those towns and cities as well. So there's a number of options open to us, certainly within the antisocial behaviour legislation as well, and also the PSPOs as well, working in conjunction with the local authorities to get those areas signed up, and we've had some real good success on the back of that. We've dedicated resource into those areas, but what now that looks like, certainly in relation to the latest sort of initiative from the Labour government, we have, as of Monday, invested a further 75 officers into our neighbourhood policing teams, but those neighbourhood policing teams that cover those towns and cities across West Yorkshire that have been highlighted within that piece of work. So that's going to be an increased footfall, visible presence from West Yorkshire Police into those areas to take early action, to arrest these offenders, and obviously improve those towns and cities for the members of the public.
Yeah, well, that'll really go down well. So obviously we'll see how that increased visibility impacts on satisfaction, and I think that's really good news. If we move then on
can I just make one point, which, and I know you've picked up on it, and I'm grateful to you, but this report is showing over the last 6 years there's a 27% reduction in crime across West Yorkshire. That is phenomenal. So there's 27.8% reduction consistently over the last 6 years, and that goes across all areas of residential burglary, personal robbery, theft from the person, vehicle offences, with the exception of theft of motor vehicle, it's increased. But that reduction is the amount of the fewer victims that there are across West Yorkshire is certainly sustainable. Last week we did the release of the Office of National Statistics latest, and in the last 12 months there's been another 8% reduction in crime across West Yorkshire. I say that because we know that our crime recording processes are legitimate, have integrity, and are done properly. But if you went on social media or read the newspaper or listened to the news, you wouldn't feel that there's a reduction in crime. There absolutely is. There's less victims. We're providing a better service to them, and it's getting better and better all the time. And with the increase in neighbourhood policing presence that Damien's leading on, I think there's some real opportunities to take that springboard going forward here. I just wanted to make that point.
No, I think it's a point well made, and clearly there's all sorts of mechanisms that you've got, like community alert, for example, to tell the public about this good news and this improved performance. And again, Tracy and I are really happy to magnify that performance. And of course we do, depending on who's asking the question. But I think we should be doing it in more generally. And I think we need to get a bit of a communication strategy around it, because I think it will lead to people feeling safer in West Yorkshire particularly. We've had a difficult weekend, but actually that's not the norm. That's not the norm. And crime in neighbourhoods is reducing, and crime overall is reducing. And actually, compared to our more similar group, we're doing a really good job. And I think we need to be confident about saying that to the public.
Yeah, and I think what we can use as an opportunity is that vehicle of those monthly returns back to the Home Office, to use some of that data to provide that to the public to show, and this is the success of the work in action.
Yeah, and obviously we've got lots of opportunities to get information out as well, so we're really happy to share that data and do things with it, because it's all about building that trust and confidence in policing and making people go about their daily lives feeling that they're safe to do so, which of course they are.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. So I think we're on to business crime, which links of course with the city centre stuff, because we know there's a massive crossover. Although I should just say on nighttime economy, again, we shouldn't be shy about saying that we did an audit in Leeds around heading ironically, some really good engagement with the nighttime economy there, and 92% of businesses passed the Asperangela test and various other audit protocols that we undertook, West Yorkshire Police, the local authority, various other partners undertook, and it was really good success rate amongst the nighttime economy providers in Leeds. I understand Kirklee's got 100% Asperangela compliance, which is brilliant. So just need the other local authorities to catch up, but that was really reassuring that people, not just during the day, but also on a night out, can have that assurance in West Yorkshire. So business crime then. What is discussed at the national, regional and local retail working groups, and how does this enhance local policing services? And I know that you've got a business crime prevention group.
I do, yes.
I'm sure similar things are discussed. Is it the same? Is it different? We always do things differently in West Yorkshire, of course. So what sorts of issues are getting raised?
Yeah. So the national strategy, so that's the retail crime strategy, so that's currently being developed by what is a public-private sector partnership. So that's looking at blending industry capabilities also with enforcement powers to target and reduce crime against retailers. Regional, we've got the intelligence and data gathering across the region, which is facilitated by Operation Pegasus. So we feed into that, and then we get fed back from that regional what is the force intelligence. So that is able in us to look at what are our victim location and offender sites as well in a more proactive way. Locally, districts, we've got city centre teams. They're in partnership in some areas with the bid teams as well, city centre wardens and crime reduction partnerships. So what we then do is share that intelligence locally, so we're all up to speed with what's happening. And then in relation to the business crime prevention group, that is a meeting, as you say, that I chair on a quarterly basis. And that looks at sharing best practice, so from that national, region and local as well, so we can pull all that information together. It looks to de-escalate customer confrontations. It also provides them an opportunity to bring issues up with regards to local offences, new crime types, but it also provides us opportunities to showcase new IT. So for example, the most recent meeting, we were showing face reveal, which is obviously the AI auto generation. So if companies invest in it, it will flag up as people who are banned entering their store, so they know, so they can take action before they're able to either steal or confront a member of staff. We also use that meeting as an opportunity to share our quarterly crime data as well, so that's presented by one of our force analysts there as well, just to look at trends and outcomes. And then any issues we can then pass on to the local MPTs. As I always say at this meeting, I would welcome more partners to be, or businesses to be part of that meeting. So that is always my request, and it is open to businesses out there. Please come along and join us.
And we go and see lots of businesses all the time. I do tell them about that group. I don't know what the route is, so I suppose I should be
to me.
Yeah. So because we do meet lots of businesses all the time. So that's good. Interesting to see what works with this, what happens with this face reveal stuff. All good. And we're currently, obviously, the government's now doing lots of work on business and retail crime, so and we put it in the plan, as we promised to put it in the plan, which funded and handed us. So that was good, and we put it in the plan. So hopefully we'll see a bit of a turn in that direction, because I know businesses have been very successful. National reporting shows serious and organised crime as being a driver for shoplifting offences. Why do you think this is not the case in West Yorkshire?
So when we've looked at our own offences, we've done a dip sample of 100 theft from shop offences, and predominantly that's committed by individuals who are motivated by either their own drug or alcohol addiction. We do have obviously high-end stores, certainly within Leeds, and retail sports stores such as Nike, and at times they've been targeted by out-of-force nominals. We've actually got some really good successful prosecutions on the back of those, and we've identified links to stock outside of West Yorkshire. So we're also represented on those national retail crime working groups, as I mentioned before. So we're ensuring that we are sharing that information and intelligence. So we are capturing those travelling organised crime groups as they're coming into West Yorkshire, or enabling others to basically brief their retail crime teams as well at a local level with that. But at the moment, predominantly, it is just individual theft that we seem to have the issue with.
Yeah, and I suppose if we can get some better partnerships with forward leads and other partners who are providing support for things like addiction or homelessness, we might be able to do something about those individuals, because obviously there's a story there, isn't it, for each of those 100 people. So yeah, and again, anything that we can do to talk to those partners to get that link, very happy to do so. The next question is about ASB initiatives and the link with business crime, and just wondered out what that link was and how the SPIN meetings help with combating business crime.
Yeah, so obviously, as I mentioned before, we get all our information, such as the antisocial behaviour, vandalism, theft, public nuisance, and we look at that and we map that against our hotspot areas and the link into those businesses. We've also got the theft and fraud offences that can occur as well, and also that disorderly behaviour where some of these offenders are actually confronted by members of staff and they offer violence towards them. What we're doing, we're increasing our engagement at that local level through those neighbourhood policing teams, through those partnership patrols as well in those business districts as well, providing that extra vigilance and trying to deter business crime as well, so making it hard for those people to come in and cause the issues. It's about increasing that visibility as well. And when I talk about increasing that visibility, I'm not just on about West Yorkshire Police resource. We have wider resource than that, because obviously we've got the business security as well in some of these retail establishments, as well as some of our partners who still have wardens within the local authority areas as well. So what we're trying to do is actually share that information so we can target the key areas where we've got the business problems. As I've mentioned before, the ASB initiatives around PSPOs as well has been really effective in some areas. So certainly some of the ASB that we've had around businesses has actually been around car meets, certainly within the Wakefield area, which isn't one of the normal things you'd think about. But
and Halifax, I think.
Yeah. So we've been able to use PSPOs to help us to deal with that issue as well. So in summary, what we're trying to do is use a wide range of ASB initiatives, looking at our own resource, the wider resource, and looking at all those options open to us to be able to deal with the business crime that is obviously affecting our local businesses. The way the SPIN meetings work is obviously sharing that analytical information, and it's not just our information, because we've obviously got the partnership intelligence portal as well, which people can feed into as well, and we can share that information just to make sure that we are in the right place at the right time. But as always, all I encourage businesses to do, you need to report the crime, because if they don't report it, we don't know about it.
And hopefully getting better at that, because I know there's some national statistic that says it's still very low. So we'll see. And I'm aware that the partnership information portal is being used much more effectively now with partners, so hopefully that continues. So that's really good. And thanks for agreeing to share more information on the Community Safety Accreditation Scheme and criminal behaviour orders. And once we get that again, we'll put it on the website.
Perfect.
Brilliant. So we're on to rural crime, which we like to talk about from time to time, because obviously farmers raise this with us, and I meet the NFU and other partners on a regular basis. Yorkshire Stone was raised with REMA by the member of the public, and so we like to keep focus on Yorkshire Stone, which I know is a concern for lots of residents in communities across West Yorkshire. And we welcome the 5 charges against perpetrators in 2024. Can you give us some information about why so many incidents do not progress as the investigation is classed as not in the public interest?
Yeah, normally what we find with the Yorkshire stone theft is somebody will go to bed on an evening, and it's when they wake up the following day and go outside that they'll find that the local pavement's been taken. And the problem that we have is the lack of witnesses or any sort of investigation that we can move on from there. So that's why in the main the finalised and closed is not in the public interest, because ultimately there isn't any investigation that we can do to identify the suspect for that offence. Obviously, if there is something, if something is captured on a Ring doorbell camera, or we have a witness, or we've got a registration plate, we will investigate those offences, and that's what's led to those 5 successful prosecutions.
So I mean, it's a really difficult one because it's beloved here in Yorkshire stone, and that's why it gets targeted. But thanks for the 5, and hopefully we'll have more next time. The report identifies that alongside reductions in criminal damage and theft of agricultural or building materials, there's been a 20% increase in the theft of farm equipment. Can you tell us a bit more about the work that you're doing with partners to disrupt this organised crime and the gangs that are perpetrating it?
Yeah, so what we've been doing through the local MPTs is promoting some of the watches that we've got. So we've got a number of watches. We've got Horse Watch, Farm Watch, and we've obviously got Community Alert, as you've mentioned before. And what we've also tried to do as well is increase our rural footprint as well, which has then led to us doing more in relation to crime prevention and helping farmers to stop being victims of crime. Obviously, one of the things that we've got open to us is contacting us, and we can arrange for a visit from one of our crime prevention officers to look how do they better secure their building and also their equipment. We've looked at better working relationships as well, not only at regional forces but the National Farmers Union, the animal inspectors and the National Rural Crime Team. So that's helped us to map some regional OCG activity, and we've had some real recent successful operations as well in relation to what's led to arrests and also the successful recovery of farm equipment as well. So just looking at some of those OCG issues that we've got locally here within West Yorkshire. But the key thing for me is trying to target hard on the farms to the best of their abilities to prevent them from being easy targets.
Yeah, and I'm going to try and join the Rural Crime Network to find out more about what we can be doing. So hopefully that'll happen quite soon, and I'll start going to meetings. Can you update us on the current work of your wildlife crime officers? Are there any trends in the harming of local wildlife that we see at the moment?
Yeah, so at the moment there's no trends that are coming out from the information that we've got on our systems. We continue to reach wider out into the rural community, and that's identified high harm activities. One of them is actually cockfighting, so that's enabled us to take early action in relation to that. But at the moment what they're actually preparing for is Op Gallop, which is ongoing this month and also into next month as well. So that is it's a national operation to target equine crime and also road safety, and that's done through multiple ways of online campaigns, visit to stables and yards to offer advice, but also trying to encourage, going back to what I was mentioning about Horse Watch, trying to get more people signed up to it as well, so we can actually extend the community and our reach into those areas.
Yeah, well, once I join this Rural Crime Network, hopefully I'll be able to help in that regard, so we'll see. You mentioned on page 2 of the report the National Rural Crime Unit. Can you tell us a bit more about the work that you do with that unit that benefits our rural communities? Yeah,
so this is where we've had the recent success in recovering some of that farm equipment. So what that unit enables to do is they've got a larger resource and spread across the country as a whole. So that is providing us with specific information and intelligence that previously we wouldn't have had to our disposal. And what it's helped us to do is provide that missing piece of the jigsaw, because we can pull our information intelligence, and with their overlay we can then pick out some of the issues that we've got. So what we've then been able to do is execute warrants for rural crime, and that has led to that agricultural farm equipment being recovered as well as some building equipment. And we then work in partnership as well with their accredited financial investigator as well, National Construction and Agricultural Theft Team, and that then looks at working backwards to see how much have they made from the crime, so we can go after the money as well, which is obviously one thing we like to do very well here within West Yorkshire.
Yeah, because Mayor Safe Communities Fund obviously will benefit.
Yeah, so the more that we can confiscate, the better. So that's why we're working together.
Yeah. Which actually does make the question that if we can start to bring more money in through that route, that we should be encouraging more farming organisations to bid for that money actually. So that's something we'll pick up. Rural communities can be particular the lack of visible policing in their neighbourhoods. Obviously, the rural, very large areas. What work is being done to build confidence in policing in more isolated neighbourhoods? Yeah, so even though I've talked about the recent uplift into neighbourhoods, which is the 75, and that's going into the town and cities, I don't think what we can forget is the previous uplift we did within West Yorkshire Police, which led to 67 extra officers going into neighbourhood policing previously, which means we've got a wider footprint into those areas. We've got our PCSOs as well. So what we're trying to do is show that visibility, but these are large areas that we've got to cover, and it's making sure that we're then linking into those wider schemes in relation to those rural volunteers as well across our areas, linking into the key watches, linking into the key meetings as well. And what we'll try to do is use the information and intelligence to ensure that that visibility is in the right place at the right time. So we're linking in it to crime, antisocial behaviour. And I go back to, that's why I need people to report everything to us, because we're only as good as the information that we've got on our systems. And again, using Farm Watch, using Community Alert, because it's not just about visible policing, it's about that visible engagement of policing as well, just to show that what we have done in those areas. Because if we don't tell them, they don't know, because if they haven't seen it, as we've passed, they won't know the action that we've taken. So we need to make sure that we're spreading that message, and we need to do that better. And do you think we're good at helping farming organisations to complete the PIP? No, it's probably one area we could look at better, because what we try to do is bring that information through the Farm Watch scheme, but it's another area that we can look into. Yeah, I mean, you don't want to duplicate it. The Farm Watch is a better resource than the partnership portal, then that's fine. But don't forget the information somewhere. It just might be that it works better for other people. We'll see.
I think going forward, Community Alert as well. If we get more people signed up to Community Alert, we can put some specific parameters around rural crime and that, both on a geographic basis, but also on a wider basis.
So I saw some recent comments by the Countryside Alliance, I think it was last week. It was alleged that West Yorkshire had the highest number of crimes recorded at churches between 2022 and 2024. I just wondered what your comments were on those statements. Crime data integrity will be my first one. Obviously we're outstanding within West Yorkshire Police, so we make sure that if a report is reported to us, we crime it, which is the first thing. Even though when they look at the combined figures, what's to know is looking over a 3-year period, and certainly within 2024 we've seen a reduction since 2023, so it is heading in the right direction. I think one of the other concerns that I have is there are a number of churches across West Yorkshire which are no longer practising churches. They're being converted, but on our recording systems they will still count as a church. So they may have been targeted, but it's no longer a place of worship. It might be a dwelling or some other business offence, but it will be captured within that realm. What we're then doing as well with regards to initiatives, we've got Faith Watch, so that's a collaboration with local churches in mosque and other faith organisation. That scheme enhances the communication not only between policing but those faith communities. And again, what we're trying to do there is encourage the reporting of offences. Again, working with them with regards to the crime prevention advice that we can give to them as well, because one of the things that we've noticed over previous years is the price of lead's increased. That was when we've seen more targeting, certainly of church locations. And then we've got some establishments have adopted advanced security technologies. So one of those areas is in relation to the lead and microdotting. So when we recover the lead, if they've gone through the enhanced security technology, we can actually link it back to the property and the offence, and also then obviously have the victim and then look to prosecute those
individuals as well. And then we've got our design out crime officers as well, so they've accessed funding from the Home Office as well, just to provide that additional security to churches who have previously been subject to crime and antisocial behaviour. So again, the offer is there to faith establishments. If they want to reach out, we have those crime prevention officers and staff who we can provide that information to help their establishments for free.
Yeah, and obviously we've got lots of faith forum across West Yorkshire, so it could be it could be that we want to reach out to them and tell them about microdotting, for example, which I never heard of. So there's lots of things that we could offer, and the Mayor's inclusivity champion, Fatima Kansha, she's got lots and lots of links with faith communities and faith organisations, so I can definitely put her in touch with you and get her to get those messages out, get some really good messages that we can send out to those organisations that she's aware of. I think that would be good. People feel they've got a bit of control of how they go. We're on to item 10, which is future agenda items, and the next theme is supporting victims and witnesses. The items we're going to be discussing are drugs and alcohol, adult safeguarding, the strategic policing requirement, supporting victims and witnesses, and the exception report. I know Pat's going, but I thought it would be really good to talk about some of the work that we've done as part of the Local Criminal Justice Board and the end-to-end review that Pat undertook for looking at domestic abuse cases over a period of time, and because I think it was a really good piece of work, and I think lots of lessons were learned, and not just for us but for all the partners, and leading to some better outcomes for all the partners that are around that table. Hopefully eventually it'll lead to better outcomes for victims. There's no sight of that, nobody sees that work, so I think it's a really good idea to do it. Get him to write it before he goes.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, they'll enjoy it.
Yeah, I just think it's really good. So obviously it's going to lead us somewhere, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that'd be good. Thank you. So is there any other business?
No, thank you.
No, there's none from us. The next meeting is Tuesday, 29th of July, 2:30 to 4:30.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.